Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Notice is hereby given that in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, the laws of 1975, notice of this meeting has been sent to all school offices, officially designated newspapers, filed with the township clerk, and posted in the Board of Education 48 hours in advance of this meeting. Roll call, please.
Certainly, Mrs. Soar.
Here.
Mrs. Austin.
Here.
Mrs. Berkowitz.
Here.
Mrs. Sanande.
Here.
Mr. White.
Here.
Mrs. Pintarelli.
Here.
Please stand for the flag salute. As you can see, I'm not Mr. Rossini, but so I will give the board president's report. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. I heard that I'd like to offer a huge congratulations to Mr. Argara and all of our students and staff for the incredible success of this year's play production of Beetlejuice. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend, but I asked around and I heard it was an amazing evening, a lot of hard work, creativity, and dedication and by everyone, and the stage was brought to life. So congratulations to everyone, and if there is a video of it out, I would love to see it, so I don't know if that's out. This week, we also take the time to recognize and celebrate some very important people in our school community. On May 1st, we celebrate National Principals Day. Thank you to our school principals for their leadership and support. Tomorrow is National Nurses Day. Thank you to all our school nurses for their compassionate care, their patience, and their calm presence, whether it's an offer of a Band-Aid or an ice pack or a reassuring comment or coming to the aid of a serious matter or anything in between. You are appreciated and valued. And this week, we also celebrate National Teacher Appreciation Week. Our heartfelt gratitude to all educators for all you do on a daily basis. It does not go unnoticed by any of us on the board. And I came across a poem that I'd like to read. It's to the wonderful teacher. With a special gift for learning and with a heart that deeply cares, you add a lot of love to everything you share. And even though you mean a lot, you never know how much, for you helped to change the world through every life you touched. You sparked the creativity in the students whom you taught and helped them strive for goals that could not be bought. You are a special teacher that no words can truly tell, however much you're valued for the work you do so well. So thank you for all that you do from the board. And I think that's it for my report tonight. Okay, so we're going to go on to committee reports. Buildings and grounds, Mr. White.
Nothing to report this evening.
Communications and policy, Mrs. Berkowitz.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. Curriculum and technology, Mrs. Sanande.
Nothing to report tonight.
Finance, Mrs. Pintarelli, that's me. Nothing to report tonight. Negotiations, Mr. Rossini. I don't think anything, yeah. No. And personnel, Ms. Asor.
Yes. Hi. We had our meeting tonight. It is hiring season right now, and things are going well. You'll see on the agenda that we're approving several people for next school year. And we want to welcome Ms. Victoria Rosama, there we go, as the new guidance counselor at Holdrum. And tonight we're also sadly accepting the resignation of Mr. Jasper as the principal over at Woodside. So we'll begin that search as well.
Thank you. Please take note of the committee meeting schedule below. Okay, public comments. The agenda items only. The Rivervale Board of Education is committed to encouraging the citizens of Rivervale and employees of the Rivervale School District to speak directly to board trustees. In order to facilitate this communication, residents and employees are requested to, 1, sign in before speaking, 2, to maintain an appropriate sense of decorum, and 3, to limit their remarks to no more than 5 minutes. The board will also take under advisement the written comments and opinions of non-residents that are submitted to the board secretary. Being mindful of its responsibility to maintain the orderly conduct of meetings, the board retains the right to rule in such matters as the speaker's right to address the board, as well as the appropriateness of the subject being presented. The board's decision in matters is final. The board also reminds all members of the public that while it subscribes without reservation to the principle of keeping the community informed by policy and law, it cannot allow the public discussion of personnel matters, nor can trustees comment on any current or pending litigation. If a matter concerning an employee of the Rivervale Public Schools is of interest or concern to a resident, the matter should be referred to the responsible building principal or the superintendent of schools by telephone, letter, or mail. I will open the meeting to public comments at 7:06. Okay, seeing there are none, I will close public comments at 7:07. And superintendent's report.
Thank you. Good evening. I definitely will not be able to top our Madam President over here, but I will say thank you very much for your kind words and thoughtfulness in recognizing our teachers, principals, nurses. It is appreciated. So I'd also like to just add my deep appreciation to our teachers and our nurses and our principals for the impact that they have on our students every single day. Whether you're in the classroom, behind the scenes, or in a supportive role, really all of our staff is wonderful, and they work together to create an environment where our students feel safe and supported and inspired to grow every single day. We really are lucky to have such a dedicated team in this district. I feel very happy and very lucky to be here. I also want to take a moment as well to recognize the incredible Holdren Middle School production of Beetlejuice this past weekend. I had the pleasure of attending on Friday night's performance, and it truly was a standout event. The talent on stage was matched by the creativity behind the scenes, from set design to costumes to lighting, and definitely a special thank you to the director, Rich O'Gara, and the entire team of staff and students and volunteers who really brought this production to life. It was a wonderful example of what happens when passion and teamwork comes together, and it made me incredibly proud to be the superintendent as I was watching that musical. So thank you.
The board secretary's report.
Okay, thank you and good evening. Just a few reminders for the board that this past the Monday, we had a walkthrough for our asbestos abatement bid, and I was very pleased and very surprised that we actually had 4 contractors come, which is a lot in terms of asbestos abatement companies. So, also as a reminder, thank you. There may be, I think everybody handed in the self-paced ethics training forms. Another reminder is that in October, the New Jersey School Board's workshop is going to be occurring, so I'll get you information out later on. And then also in your packet, please keep in mind that the Holdren Middle School 8th grade awards recognition night is being held Monday, June 16th, and the Holdren Middle School graduation is on Wednesday, June 18th. Please, if you would send in your RSVP so that I can contact the middle school so that they can make sure that they are aware that you're coming. Other than that, the only other exciting, and I know that's why you're all here, presentation is of our final budget. Mic check, mic check. Better? Can you hear me? Okay. I apologize for my back here. So here we are. I'm actually going to stand over here so I can swipe. We're going to play musical chairs. So thank you to the board, the finance committee in particular, for all the work that you've done in terms of putting together this budget. The administrative team as well. It's a concerted effort, and as we go through this agenda, what you're going to see is that we have already laid out our budgetary developmental calendar for next year. So we start this process in October, and thanks to the board and administration, these are the people that are most closely involved with crafting this budget. Can you see? Okay. So what do we value? By the way, this presentation will be up on the website tomorrow. So if you want to memorize that, you can. Otherwise, you can feel free to read it tomorrow. Again, this is a little awkward to see. Obviously, I'm not going to read every last bit of this, but it's providing an individualized education for students, empowering students, creating strong partnerships, utilizing technology, and continued focus on school improvement. There's a lot that we take into consideration when we craft our budget. So what steps do we take? Well, every single year and in between the months, we regularly assess and we evaluate the effectiveness of our educational programs, and we make adjustments to improve the outcome for students. And that's a constant. So between the superintendent's office, curriculum and instruction, technology, and my office, that's something that goes on a regular basis. I know, and you've seen the presentations by Ms. Dowling and Ms. Ignori, that they really take a lot of time and energy to put a focus on the data analysis, which is their fun time. So we all have our little tweaks and our things. We're continually recruiting, nurturing, and enhancing exceptional personnel, and we do have exceptional personnel. A focus on supporting students' social and emotional well-being to achieve increased student success and carrying on the environments. And that's one of those examples is our partnership with West Bergen Mental Health. So we're one of the few districts that started a relationship, and we have a full-time clinician on our staff, which has been invaluable. Provide the necessary facilities, technology, and support to maintain them. And if you're not aware, so this is my office back here because we've started construction of this building. We've put a lot of time and effort. We're in our 4th year of construction and our renovation, and the schools will be finished this year, but we start this project. So what are our goals? Obviously, create a budget that's reflective of the district's value and continual commitment to excellence. Create a budget that's respectful to the community. This board has always lived a very conservative financial budget. They are very respectful to the community and to everyone that this budget touches. They create a budget that maintains a rigorous cycle of curriculum review and renewal. There we go. So the budget supports all of our current educational programming and staffing levels, small class sizes, full-day kindergarten, K-8 technology initiative, which is 1-to-1, digital resources, and again, I happen to have been at also a regional board retreat that even I know that we're so fortunate to have Canvas, because I know that going up to the high school, it makes life a lot easier. But we also have Linkit, Big Ideas, math, etc. We have a commitment to a rigorous cycle of curriculum review and renewal, and we do have quite a few specialists that come in and consultants for PD. And we do send, if you read our agendas, we do send and support quite a few teachers and staff members for professional development. Oh, goodness. Now I'm getting into the red zone. There we go. This is the I check. So, can you read? What's the smallest line that you can read? Again, this is going to be up on the website. These are the goals that the board crafts starting now for the following year. So during the board's retreat, May 27th, they will be creating goals that will again be for the following year. These are the goals that they crafted last year. And again, I'm just going to spin through these because they're up on the website. You have operations, technology, instruction. And again, just to share the timeline, the budget really does start being collected in October. And all of the departments, we talk about it, and we put together a budget. The Finance Committee gets their first draft budget, the first board meeting in January, so that we have time to see where we stand. That's absent of our state aid, but at least we know what to expect as we see our budget being crafted. February, state aid figures are released. Tentative budget is always due to the county on the 20th. This year it was due on the 18th. Actually, next year it's due on the 18th. And then we have a formal board hearing, public presentation, and that's tonight is on the agenda for the board to adopt the final budget. Okay, we're highly efficient. We participate in many different shared services, gas co-ops. We have a lease purchase, a lease with the township. They will help to maintain our vehicles. We also purchase gas through them at a cheaper rate. We also have a relationship with Old Tappan Borough. We participate in the NESBIG, which is a joint insurance fund. There's 42 districts in there. Our property, our environmental, our cyber insurance, all of that goes through, and the 42 of us were able to get a better rate than if we were out on our own. The big last but not least, we are partners with the PTA and the Rivervale Education Fund. The PTA has always been very generous, and so has the Rivervale Educational Fund. Okay, that's not that we don't craft this budget without challenges. We continuously have state-imposed mandates and no assistance from the state in that regard. Some of these achieve NJ, you've got your testing standards, you have your special ed, you have your health benefits, which have seen some significant increases in the past few years. And you'll see out of a $25 million budget, you receive $1.4 million in state aid. The rest is on the backs of the taxpayers. Okay, so again, discretionary funding was kept flat. Our staffing levels have been maintained. There were no cuts, but there were no increases. This year, for the first time in about 15 years, we are seeing an increase in enrollment, so much that the state in their budget program allowed the district to take an enrollment adjustment, which means that they were able to raise the tax levy in addition to the 2% cap for the reason and the purpose to contribute and fund the additional enrollment. They calculate a formula. It was 39 additional kids, 25,000 and change in the allotment per child, which ended up being an additional $475,000 roughly in an enrollment adjustment that the board, you'll see in the recap, they're using so that they can increase the capacity and appropriately budget for these additional kids. The board has had banked cap And what that is, think of it as the, you're allowed to increase your budget on paper. You're not touching any money, but you have the authority to raise taxes if you so desire, if you have what's called bank cap. The board had bank cap. The board very consciously decided that because they're using the enrollment adjustment and all of their financial and their educational needs are being met, they do not need to use additional funding. But that additional authority sits in a side silo, so to speak, for another 2 years. So in the next budget or the budget thereafter, if the board decides to use that money, that authority, they are able to raise taxes with that. But the board said, no, we're not going to do that. In the budget, we did use some of our maintenance reserve and some of our emergency reserve to help offset the health benefit increase. And now for the really fun stuff. It's, as I was saying, it's a revenue cap. So the budgeted fund balance that's being utilized is funds that were not spent in the 24-25 year. So the board is saying we're going to use that money to offset the following year. So that money is moving forward. The emergency reserve withdrawal, the board has had $232,000 in that emergency reserve, which is specifically for increases in health benefits that's over 4% and for security equipment. The board is choosing to use $100,000 to offset the health benefits. Maintenance reserve, the maintenance reserve is $759,000, and the board can use the maintenance reserve for items that are to keep the district running. For instance, windows. It's not for custodial supplies. It's for HVAC. It's for roofs. It's for real required maintenance type items. So the board is using $198,000 and change. The general local tax levy, that's the taxes that are going to be raised in the town. So that's where the bulk of the money comes from. Tuition, the $60,000, we do have an integrated pre-K program. We did increase the tuition that we charge, and so we are expecting an increase in students that are going to be attending that program. We have had an increase, that $24,000, we're over it this year, and that's why I adjusted it for next year to more accurately predict what we're going to be expecting. Miscellaneous and interest for capital reserve, that is rental of the buildings. We rent our buildings now to the Ed Fund. We also have seen an increase in the interest rates, so I've more accurately depicted that. As you can see, our state aid, it actually went up 6%, the most that we've seen ever. So this is a big win. Federal grants, they are restricted. We receive IDEA grants, which are for special education, and we receive $23,000 for a combination of Title II and Title IV funds, which we typically use for the regional curriculum office that we work with Pascack Valley. Debt service, that is the principal and interest payments that we are raising to pay off the referendum. If you recall, we had a 25-year bond sale, so that's what we're paying off. And debt service aid is actually the 38% that we get back from the principal and interest payments from the state. So years ago they had grants if you were to do a referendum. Now the only available money you get is through debt service aid. So that changes year by year. And then on the appropriation side, or which are your expenditures, you can see the categories that we have: instruction, co-curricular, special education. This particular special education tuition is for out-of-district students. It's not for the students that were retained in district. Support services, administration, operations, transportation. Capital outlay, special revenue are the entitlement grants. Those are restricted for those specific purposes with the IDEA and the Title II and Title IV. And then, as I said, debt service, that's for your referendum principal and interest payments. I'm flying through this. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, so at the end of the day, the general fund budget is going to be an increase of 3.9%. However, because there is a large development that is being built and new assessments are coming onto the books, the actual tax impact for our budget is going to be a reduction of the 42 cents, the $12.78, and $153 a year. Again, any questions?
Tax impact, that's actually going down. That's on the average assessed house in town.
Yeah, we'll double check that. Questions? You're awfully quiet. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ippolito, for your presentation on the budget. Now we will move to public comments on budget presentation items only. The statement that I read earlier about regarding public comments on agenda items will apply to the budget presentation items and later on general items. So I will open to public comments at 7:26. If there are any comments. Okay, and I will close at 7:26. Okay, do I have a motion to move general resolutions G1 through G19?
I'll motion.
And a
I'll
sec-
second.
Thank you. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Certainly. Mrs. Asur,
Yes.
Mrs. Austin,
Yes.
Mrs. Berkowitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Sanande,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Pintarelli.
Yes. Do I have a motion to move business resolutions B1 through B43?
I'll move B1 through B43.
In a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? A roll call, please.
I just have a question, quickly. I see Mr. Jasper on here for September of 2025, so I'm assuming, yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it obviously will not happen.
You're right. Okay.
Yeah, it was just made before.
Yeah, I figured that. Thanks.
Any other comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Okay.
Mrs. Asur,
Yes.
Mrs. Austin,
Yes.
Mrs. Berkowitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Sanande,
Yes, but I'll abstain from B26.
certainly. Mr. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Pintarelli.
Yes. May I have a motion to move personnel resolutions P1 through P27?
I'll move it.
Second?
I'll second.
I would just like to point out P1. I wish, well, the board wishes Mr. Jasper best of luck in his new journey, and thank you for his years of service to Rivervale, whether at Holdrum or at Woodside. One thing I'll always remember about Mr. Jasper is how he always wanted to get to know each kid's name and welcome them and make them feel, I think one time, make them feel seen all the time. So that was always touching to me. So I wish him good luck and the best of luck, and that's it. Roll call, please, or any comments? Roll call, please.
Certainly. Mr. White,
Yes.
Mrs. Sanande,
Yes.
Mrs. Berkowitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Austin,
Yes.
Mrs. Asur,
Yes.
Mrs. Pintarelli.
Yes. Okay. We are up to public comments on general items. If anyone has any public comments, I'll open the meeting at 7:32. Okay, I will close the meeting at 7:32. Do we have any old business? Any new business? Okay. Are we going into closed session? No? Okay, we are not going into closed session.
Motion to adjourn?
Love that. Okay.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I think, so that closes our meeting. Thank you very much for coming, and happy Teacher Appreciation Week. Hope you enjoy your week, and thank you for all that you do again. Good night. Safe travels home.